Being poised, being centered, being aware is part of dhyana meditation. And dhyana meditation is something which you must invest. Please remember that you need to keep your mind healthy for a very long time, for a whole lifetime. The mind has to be healthy. Many things which you are doing now may not be contributing to that. Overthinking, worrying, being anxious or depressed, all of this is not going to help. Even reading books, maybe for memory and for some kind of knowledge, yes. But what about practice? There must be some practices which change the biochemistry of the body. When you read a good book, when you have good information, when you are happy, yes, there is some kind of secretions that happen in the brain which makes you feel good. But for a greater penetration and breakthrough where the brain evolves to its super potential, only training can do that. And this training is not a mental training, it's not a psychology kind of exam or some kind of psychology test that you or technique which you do. No, this has to be something which is very technical based. It has to be something which is practical based. Hatha yoga, pranayama, shavasana, and then move into the practices of dhyana. In yoga, we have many types of dhyana. Some are very, very high level practices like with the chakras and coordinating with chakra, breathing, concentration with the mandalas, or some sounds which we utilize, or some visualizations which we do, or the simpler ones where we focus on the breath or the sounds and maybe even visualize something which we like a beautiful rose. Okay, we're going to conclude with a simple meditation. Visualize your favorite flower. If it appears, it's alright. If it doesn't appear, it doesn't matter. Don't force. But you are attempting to do your best. This is a very important concept in dhyana, that you don't force the mind, but you do your best. This is a friendly approach, but not too friendly. Too friendly means not doing anything. An attempt to in a friendly manner. That means you're coaxing your mind to bring your favorite flower, and if it appears, it's good and fine. If it doesn't appear, at least you are happy because you are attempting to. One day you will be able to. One of the ways is to have an actual flower in front of you, or to have a picture of the flower, look at it, close the eyes and attempt to reproduce. If it comes, fine, continue. If it doesn't come, open the eyes and again visualize and then attempt to reproduce. Like this, we can do it gently and slowly and enjoy the process. Remember this? When we engage the mind in concentration, it has to be accompanied with sukham. You have to be happy to do this. Then only when you do the next day, the body will want to support, the mind, your emotions want to support, because it is an enjoyable process. You must learn the art of making your practices enjoyable. And what will be the culmination of, for example, this particular practice where we are visualizing the rose, or attempting to visualize the rose, or looking at the rose and attempting to do it? It will culminate with a higher ability to concentrate, to churn out faster work, more efficient work, to push your body to a higher level of functioning, to utilize the time that you have in the most productive, in the most beautiful way, where you feel that you are competent and you are useful to yourself. This is most important, that you must feel that you are productive to yourself. Once time leaves, it will never come back. A day lost will never come back in the future. So you must extract this ability from your brain, and it is done by training yourself to concentrate. But again, very important to remember, the concentration is accompanied with happiness, sukha. This is the unique approach of yoga. The meditation, the asanas, the detox, the philosophy, the concepts, all enjoyable.